Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a good morning so far. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. Got Loraine coming in today. So Loraine is one of the co-founders of Radio Bath. I'm really looking forward to chatting to her over the next couple of hours or so. As always, if you want any requests, then pop them on the email at studio@radiobath.com. Any requests for music, or if you want to ask Loraine any questions at all, happy to get those going as well. Okay. Here's a bit of Luther Vandross, Never Too Much. Here till midday. Of course, no longer with us, the sad Tina Turner. Not sad, she's not sad. But Tina Turner and Bryan Adams, It's Only Love. Right, it's time for Loraine then. So good morning, Loraine.
Good morning, Richard.
And how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really busy.
Are you? That sounds very unlike you.
We've got our charity gala dinner tomorrow night, so I'm really busy with that.
Where is that taking place?
At the Doubletree Hilton in Bath.
Sounds very nice, very posh.
Oh, it's going to be lovely.
Oh, sounds good. So Loraine she's the ex-mayor of Bath, former councillor, co-founder of Radio Bath itself, charity worker and mother of 6.
Yeah.
Blimey. And you are a massive, passionate person of Bath, which is lovely. And it's the first time you've properly been on Radio Bath.
It is.
So thank you for that. I love the fact that you're here with me for the first time.
I'm normally in the office.
You are. I come into the studios every week and I pop my head round the corner and there's Loraine in the corner working away on Radio Bath, but not actually being on Radio Bath.
That's right. I've only nipped in a few times just to maybe talk about an event or something. So, yeah, I've never sat for 2 whole hours in the studio.
2 whole hours talking about yourself.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I know. Oh, squeaky away, my friend. So there's 35 presenters at least on this station, okay? And you're at the moment sat on the other side of the desk. How come you're not this side of the desk and chatting away like I am now? Okay,
well, for people who know me, and a lot of people out there do, because Bath's my home, so I've lived here all my life, Steve won't give me a slot. And do you know why? He said there would be no time for music, because as you all know, I do talk a lot. Okay, so I'm going to have to manage you talking today, am I? Yeah, definitely. Sorry. That's why I don't have a show, because there'll be no time for music. Oh, okay. Well, I'll be honest with you. The amount of time my interviews go on for, I kind of have to chop quite a bit of the music myself. So I'm probably in the same camp as you. So you grew up in Bath then. So whereabouts did you grow up in Bath? I grew up in Widcombe. My parents had a house on Widcombe Hill, and it was perfect because I went to the convent in Bath, and that was just quite close to Widcombe, so it was in walking distance really. Okay, and I had the pleasure of going to a Catholic school, and I did have the pleasure of being taught by nuns on the odd occasion. Did you have the same? Yes, we did. Yes, predominantly. Oh, really? Yeah, because the nuns were based, because it's the La Sainte Union convent, so the nuns were based there. Yeah, so we had quite a few of them. A few other external teachers as well. And it's quite strange, isn't it, when you look up at the front and then you see a nun talking about sex education. That's quite a strange moment. I don't know if they did, actually. Did they not? Oh, okay. It did in my school. Yeah, I'm a bit older than you, though, Richard. So I think they probably bypassed that one. It was just that weird moment. I was looking going, how is this sitting with me? But I'm not sure how well it sat with them, but there we go. And it was all girls as well. There's an all-girls school, the prep school that I went to, and the senior school, Right, fair enough. Yeah. And again, just doing some research, it looked like you... So for those who don't know, I'm a dance teacher normally, as well as being on the radio. And it says that you did ballroom and Latin dancing. I did. Tell me about that. Oh, it was fantastic. Goodyear School of Dancing used to be based in the Forum in Bath. They had a fabulous studio on the first floor. And Paula Goodyear, who's still out in the city teaching, amazing lady. She was our teacher. And I actually did do my medals for bronze, silver and gold. We didn't have many boys dancing, which was a shame. So we did competition dancing, but obviously a lot of the time we had, girl partners, really. But it was great fun, absolutely great fun. And then many years later, a couple of my boys actually saw dancing on TV and said, "Oh, really? That looks really good." And I said, "Oh, I used to do that." And so I said, "Would you like to learn?" They said yes. So I contacted Paula.
Okay.
And so the next generation, two of my boys went down and started to learn to dance.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there are the 10 ballroom dances. So which of those were your favourites?
The rumba.
The rumba.
The rumba, 100%.
Why is that then?
Favourite. I just think it's so smooth, and the way you move your body with the rumba is very slow, maybe very sensual, I suppose. But it's and the music is just beautiful to go with it.
And therefore, when was the last time you donned your dance shoes?
Oh gosh. Do you know, I can't remember, because two of my 4 sisters actually learnt to dance. So when there were family parties, we would get up and partner each other and dance. But sadly, we lost my father in 2010. So we haven't been to those type of dance events that we would have gone with our parents.
Yeah.
And I used to dance with my father as well. As my mother became quite poorly with arthritis, if there was a party we were at and there was dance music, I used to dance with my dad.
Okay, now very bad, because I don't ballroom dance normally, but as part of our dancing we kind of have lots of different influences, and I've definitely taught some rumba as well as some cha-cha.
Oh, we'll have to try that out sometime.
During the break we're going to see. I'm wondering if the microphones can be moved round, and if we can kind of have a little rumba demonstration. I'll bring you in hold and we'll see how it goes.
You didn't tell me about this before today.
I didn't tell you about that, but there was not deliberately, of course. But
no, Richard.
But we'll have to see if we can get you in. There's a little bit of space on the side of the studio here. I could bring you in hold. We could do a basic rumba step. We'll see how it gets going. Now, you've mentioned sisters and 6 children. So, and you've mentioned again how busy you are. How was it with 6 children? Growing up and the work-life balance, how did that get on for you?
I've never had a work-life balance. If my children can't get hold of me, they're adults now, but if they can't get hold of me, they'll say, "Oh, Mum's either at an event or she's in a meeting," and they've been so understanding over the years. They really have. But it's also, I think they're very outgoing as well, and I think they've drawn that from what I've been doing over the years, really.
Yeah, I've got 4 children myself, and it's always very difficult to try and balance giving everyone the same amount of attention. With 6, I don't know actually how you would do that.
I used to shout a lot.
Right.
But I don't know. I think myself growing up in a large family, one of 5 daughters, and my mother was one of 6, and so I think you all help each other. So I was the eldest of my siblings, and so I used to help my mum a lot, and the same for my eldest daughter Yvette. She was fabulous, and she used to help me a lot as well, especially sadly after 10 years I was divorced, so I then brought the children up on my own for another 10 years.
That's very challenging. I know my dad always says he's one of 11.
Oh, wow.
And they used to live in a 4-bedroom council house, and there was apparently one, I think it was about a month or something like that, he told me the story, that all 11 plus the parents were living in the one house.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What we all had jobs to do, mind. My mum gave us all jobs, so mine might be hoovering the lounge and one of my sisters doing something else. And actually that's what I did with my children.
Right.
And before I went to work in the morning, I'd leave a note on the side to say, to each of them if they could do one job.
And it's easy then, isn't it? And they also get the work ethic going at that stage.
Absolutely, and because 4 were boys, so I've got 2 girls and 4 boys, I thought that was really important for the boys to know how to plug in and use a hoover. And in fact, I thought that stand them in good stead when they settle down, so they just don't rely on their partner or their wife to do everything. But also 2 of them went to university, so I think being quite self-sufficient. And I have to tell you that the first phone call I had from one of my sons from university, I was so excited to hear all about university, and he went, "Guess what, Mum? buy one, get one free in Summerfield on whatever the item was. And that was his first phone call back from Cheltenham University.
Oh, bless him. But it's how you've brought them up, isn't it? To kind of think, right, must be best value.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Now, again, I was looking at your relationship with John, who is now your husband. Okay. However,
yes.
You had, shall we say, quite an extraordinary engagement time. Or you were with him for a couple of years?
Well, we got together in 1995.
Right.
We got engaged in 2000. I was terribly busy with 6 children, being a councillor, and all the other things that I was doing. So it was pretty hard to think about setting a date. So we just plodded on. And then in 2019, so we'd been together a long time, he said, shall we get married next year? And I said, yes, I suppose we could. And then COVID hit.
Right.
So we postponed 3 times in 2020. And then in 2021, we finally got round to it as, even though it was still lockdown, they increased the numbers slightly. So having a large family, I didn't want to leave them out. So we had a beautiful wedding in 2021 after 26 years together.
26 years, wow.
So he was on a very long engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's beautiful. It's at the Roman Baths and then dinner in the pump rooms. Oh. But we did last year, in our 27th year, we did actually have a big celebration. We had a church blessing, and friends and family came along to that, which was beautiful. And so people are saying, when are we having a honeymoon? So we're into our 28th year. So I thought maybe in our 30th year, perhaps.
Wow. Or just have another 26 years before you go through, and then you can work it out from there. You have the honeymoon at that point. Now, you mentioned the pandemic. Now, again, I know that you run an events business, and for myself, running a dance company, we just shut. That was the simple thing. So running events business, that must have been pretty tough in the pandemic too.
I had to postpone everything that was in the diary. Just literally had to postpone the events that we had, which was really sad because being an event organizer, I love it. I love bringing together those events for those clients. So that was quite tough, but it just had to be, obviously we all went into lockdown. But then it's so hard when you're really active, and I'm sort of sat at home and I kept ordering books online and I was reading a lot. And then one night I couldn't sleep and I started to think about all my friends that were putting their recipes on Facebook, all these delicious recipes. And I suddenly thought, I wonder if we could write a recipe book and raise money for the local hospital for the COVID wards.
Okay.
And for the staff, to make life in the hospital comfortable for them. So I spoke to John Cullum, who was chair of the Forever Friends Appeal at the time, now RUHX. And he said, well, if you think you can do that. Well, I'd never written a book in my life. And over 5 weeks, I contacted by email, modern technology, great, lots of local celebrities and friends asking if they'd give me a recipe.
Okay.
And I created a 50-page recipe book, A5, and emailed a few companies who said they'd sponsor a page. And so there we are. So every £10, and we've still got books, obviously, because we had no outlet, so we could only sell online. Okay. So we still, still beavering away. We still got them and we're selling them. And it was just phenomenal. A friend of mine, Linda Todd, who is a brilliant PR person, said, I'll support you. And she did all the social media. And a lovely chap called Mark, he's a designer. He offered to design the book for free. Okay. Because his wife works at the Royal United Hospital in Bath as a nurse, and his son worked in the theatre, so that was his way of giving. And I can't believe it. So I still kept myself quite active during that.
So is that book still available?
Yes, it is.
So
yes.
Very quickly then, what's the book called?
It's the Rainbow Recipe Book for the Royal United Hospital in Bath.
And if people do want to buy it, how can they buy it?
They could contact me, Loraine at radiobath.com, and they're £10, and every £10 goes towards the hospital. And that's the money is supporting the staff through comfort by maybe buying chairs for them in the restroom, that sort of thing. And at the time, we were supporting the COVID intensive care, which was amazing, because then a year later I got COVID pneumonia.
Right.
And I ended up in the COVID intensive care ward.
Okay, amazing.
So who would have thought that a year before I created this book to support the staff, and then I was in hospital for 22 days and they were supporting me.
And they were supporting you. And
yeah, amazing.
That's an amazing story. Well, we're going to have a little break for music and some adverts. When we come back, we're going to find out about being a councillor and about being a mayor as well. So lots coming up with Loraine after this. Now, I quite often dance to a different version of that song, and I'll be honest, I haven't listened to the actual Rolling Stones version for many years. Quite like that. Right, we're back with Loraine then. How you doing, Loraine?
Okay, yeah. Still busy.
So during the music, Loraine said, do you mind if I just pop out? We've just got to sort this out, got to sort that out. You never stop, do you?
No, I don't know how I'm not 8 stone instead of about, goodness knows what I am. It should be. It really is just amazing. Every time I see you, I've never seen you not doing anything. One of my dreams, actually, I had my daughter in here last week, and we were driving back through Bath, and I said, one of my dreams, because I'm quite a busy person myself, one of my dreams is to be able to have the time to sit at a cafe and just watch the world go by, just for half an hour. I'd be like, when was the last time you did that? Possibly our last holiday, which was before lockdown. So we went to the Gambia, and I do read a lot when we go on holiday. We do like holidays where it's really interesting places to go.
Tell me about Gambia then. I've not been there.
It's a fabulous country, and the people are amazing. I mean, the weather is glorious, and the beaches are fantastic. And I think our other favourite holiday is Kenya, to go on safari. And then you have a relaxing time at a resort afterwards. That's our all-time favourite.
Yeah, I did that for my honeymoon, just in case you want to go on a honeymoon. Well, we did Tanzania, and then we went to Zanzibar.
Yeah, so. It's just breathtaking. Yeah. The lodges are amazing, and a lot of them you probably know. You can go underground and come up, and you look through these little windows at the water hole, watching all those animals coming in. It's fabulous. I
think the weirdest one that we had is that we were right in the middle of the Serengeti, and they said you are not allowed out of your tent unless you're with an armed guard.
Yes.
And overnight we could actually hear a pride of lions walking past the front of our tent.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, I don't need the toilet right now. I'm okay. I'm going to hang on.
Well, we were going to try that next time, the tent holidays. We haven't done that, but it was it's our all-time favourite. We've been twice, and actually the first time we took a couple of days out from the resort and went to actually look at some of the projects linked to Send a Cow, which is a local Bath charity, and we went into the villages and met some of the people who are recipients from that amazing charity.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to talk about your time as a councillor now. So, first of all, how and why did you become a councillor?
Well, it wasn't sort of in my planning, but my former husband and I lived in Newbridge, and near our home 2 children were knocked down, and this was the early 90s, so by then obviously I was a single mum by then, and I was so upset that these 2 children had been knocked down a street away from Newbridge School, and so I started a 2-year campaign to get a crossing near Hartwell's garage, and I was really successful in getting this crossing. I know I'd kept it in the press and in the public eye. And I was so insistent we did need to make this road safe. And then a party in the city that I used to do some leafleting for came and said, Loraine, when you believe in something, you fight for it. Will you stand for council?
Right.
So I sat my children down, a bit like the Whartons, those out there who remember the Whartons.
Matt, John Bye.
Yeah, I sat the children down to talk about it because I said life will change because Mummy will have to go to meetings and things. But I thought if I can walk through those doors of the Guildhall and help my community and help make changes, then it'll be worth it. And so I stood and I spent 20 years in council, 5 elections and 20 years. I never imagined that would happen. but I wasn't hugely political or anything. It was about the people and it's about the community. And I'm really pleased that was part of my life.
Now, we're not going to talk politics or anything, because that's something I don't personally do.
And nor do I.
But it's obviously, if you join a political party, you kind of have to have the morals of what most of it stands for in the main. And that's quite difficult sometimes because, you can never agree with everything. So were you an independent councillor? Is that how it
No,
worked?
but I did eventually become an independent councillor. But the good thing that I found was that if you weren't going to vote with the group on something, you just told the leader of council before you went into the council chamber. So, and we weren't guided by London or anything like that. We really were. It was about the local people. And when I came into council in 95, in our group there were 30 people, 15 men, 15 women, varying ages. So it was a really diverse group, and that was great. And the fact that I could still have a voice, but also it's not just about the decisions in council, it's what you do for the people out there. So, I went to see a young mum who had housing problems, and I was the link. I always felt for 20 years I was the link between the people, the community, and the council officers to get things done. So it's not just about voting in council, it's about the day-to-day life of your local residents, really.
Okay, now I've been in some council meetings. I've been involved in a variety of different projects that have then been that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to try and put this in the nicest possible way. The age of the people that were generally on the council was quite mature. I'm going to go down that line. Okay. Now, you said you were in there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I came in at age 37.
So 37 is
I was
probably
a young mum.
About, realistically, half the age of what a lot of the councillors would have been. So how did you cope with the fact of being young in that sort of environment? Well,
because a lot more younger people came in, it was the start of Bath and North East Somerset Council. It wasn't Bath City Council anymore. There were quite a few of us who were young mums, young dads. They had to put allowance in place for childminding because, you're right, previous councillors on Wandsdyke and Bath City, some of them were a lot older, so they'd never had to think about allowance for childcare. No. And so things changed in 1995 when some of us younger ones came into council, and also we could all bring life experiences. So for me, I'd worked in the health service for 25 years in Bath, so I was able to bring that in. So my committee was health and social care. That made absolute sense. We had a couple of architects, and so they sat on planning because they understood planning. And so we did, in 1995, felt there was suddenly a very diverse group of councillors from 25 upwards, age 25 upwards.
And I think it's really important to always have that diversity. There's a classic thing about Bin Laden, that if they'd have actually had diverse people in the FBI at that point, or CIA, I can never remember which one it should be, they would have recognised that actually he was a threat rather than just a bloke in a cave, which is what the middle class 45 to 55-year-old white men thought. That's not me saying that, by the way. I'd like to point that out. That's a study that's come out post that. So I think it's fantastic to hear that even back in 95 that there was such a diverse change in the Bath area. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that made a huge difference from how the councils were before. And also Bath and North East Somerset, being a unitary, was suddenly looking after education, social services, traffic, highways, planning, which before Bath City Council and Wandsdyke Council were smaller councils, and Avon County Council in Bristol looked after all of that. So suddenly it became a big council in its own right. So having that diversity, and it's gone from strength to strength with quite a lot of councillors who've come into council since.
Okay. Now, being a big council, that has its advantages, but also naturally has its disadvantages in regarding communication. So how's the communication between all the different departments?
Well, I think it works quite well. I think that's also where the councillors come into their own as well, because they're the link as well between those various departments. And even though I didn't have an office within social services, all the staff knew me, and I would go in and see them, and we worked very hard to amalgamate with health. And so again, that was an important time in the council's life.
Okay. And, being in for 20 years, you must have had some things that you thought, I'm really proud that happened on my watch. Can you think of some?
Yes, there are a few, I suppose, but I was one of the lead councillors when Sorona Care and Health was set up. That was when the government said that we had to link health, social care, and various other services. And so we worked very closely with all those organisations and set up Sorona Care and Health, which then went on to look after Porton Hospital, St Martin's Hospital, and a lot of social care across the area. So I felt very proud about that because we delivered what we were being asked to deliver, but we'd already been doing a lot of that work previously anyway, so we were ahead of the game. I think also I was the first children's champion, not only in Bath North East Somerset Council, but I was the first children's champion in the whole of the country.
Okay, so what's a children's champion? Sorry,
a children's champion is, again, a voice for the organisations that support young people. So it meant a lot of AGMs and a lot of meetings to go to, but I became a voice for young people across Bath and North East Somerset.
That's amazing. And last bit I've got on this section is about the fact that you're now an honorary alderman. Is it alderman? Alderman? I don't know how to say it.
For Bath, because I was Mayor of Bath,
right.
I was then, when I finished in 2015 as councillor, I was given the honour of honorary alderman. They still keep alderman rather than alderwoman.
Okay.
Bath and North East Somerset Council decided that they would like to honour former councillors, long-term serving councillors, and so I was bestowed the honour of honorary alderwoman. so Bath and North East Somerset Council, being I suppose a newer council, they decided that. So yes, I have both honours, and which is wonderful because I get invited to civic events. As a former mayor, I do still wear a robe.
Right.
And I still wear my tricorn hat, so you'll often see me in procession, which I love all the history and heritage, because our first Mayor of Bath was in 1230.
Right.
And I was the 775th Mayor of Bath, but only the 14th woman in all that time to have the role.
We're going to talk much more about being a mayor after the break. I tell you, there's lots to go down that route. So an honorary alderman means you just get to be you in nice places. And still supporting the Bath and the surrounding area. Fantastic. Well, we're going to have another break for music, and when we come back, as you've just mentioned, we're going to talk about your time as Mayor of Bath, which I'm really looking forward to. So we're back after this. I love the bit that she does. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hang on. In the background. Hopefully it's there. There you go. I'm glad it was there at least. Right, we're back with Loraine now, and we're going to talk about the time when you were Mayor of Bath.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you become the Mayor of Bath?
Well, when I became a councillor, I didn't realise that was the route to becoming mayor. So you're serving councillor in the city of Bath, not North East Somerset, just Bath. So 32 councillors at the time. You have to have served at least 6 years or more. So I was in my 7th year as a councillor when the councillors asked if I would I become Mayor of Bath. I'd had the opportunity as Deputy Mayor 3 years before, 1999, and loved every minute of it because, I love being around people. I'm quite a people's person, I think. So I accepted the role, but I made the decision, I worked out my finances, could I feed my children and pay the mortgage and be a full-time Mayor of Bath? Because I wanted to, because as you alluded to before, over the years a lot of councillors were a lot older, and so many of the mayors had been retired. So I worked out my finances and thought, I gave up my job for the year so that I could be a full-time Mayor of Bath. And it was the best decision I made. I never went to university, so I called it my gap year.
Okay.
And so, as I mentioned earlier, I was the 775th Mayor of Bath, but only the 14th woman since 1230. Our first Lady Mayor was in 1950, so we went from 1230 to 1950. I fulfilled 702 events in my year.
Not that you were counting.
Well, the office did. And actually, if I look at photos now, I can, even if I can't remember everyone's names, I can remember where that event was and what it was about. I don't know how that I just did. But it was amazing. Sometimes 5 events a day, so I was quite busy. And I always remember on a busy day like that, I was at the 4th event and I was saying goodbye to everybody. We realised in advance there was no time to go home to change or to the Guildhall for the evening event. So I said goodbye to everybody, went out the door, went in another room, changed into an evening dress, went out, got in the chauffeur-driven car and went off to event number 5. Another time I did something similar. I went to Buckingham Palace for an event and we were coming down the motorway, no time to come to Bath. I was going to Bristol, to SS Great Britain. So I went in the service station in my afternoon dress and came out in an evening dress.
High class changing rooms.
Well, there we are. That's the slightly unglamorous part, behind the scenes role. But amazing year, best year of my life. And to think that was 21 years ago. So I was one of Bath's youngest mayors. I was 43. So I was a young mayor. But what's so wonderful is now when I go to events or go and give talks, people still invite me to do talks. People still remember when I was mayor. So it's really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You obviously left an impression with people.
Yeah. I think hopefully a good one.
I'm sure it would be a good one.
I'm very kissy, huggy, as you know, Richard.
Yeah.
Even when I had the chain on, I was very kissy, huggy.
Did you ever manage to slap anybody around the face with it accidentally? Just kind of a windy day maybe, and you'd come in for a big hug and it swings round and smashes them.
Well, there's a secret to how the chain sits so well. Is all my jackets I had little stitches sewn on the shoulders, and they've got little clips and they clip in, so that's why the chain never falls forward into your soup, because it's hooked onto your shoulders.
The Secrets of a Mayor. Could be a whole new book for you.
There we are then,
You've gone from recipe books to Secrets of the Mayor and all the tricks and trades. Now, I was looking here, and this bit makes me chuckle a little bit. So the official title is The Right Worshipful, the Mayor of Bath.
Yes.
Did you get announced as that, and how did it feel when somebody did say that?
Yes, that is your official title. So when people were introducing me up to the stage to speak, they would call me the Right Worshipful, the Mayor of Bath. But then after that, they would call me Madam Mayor. Right. And that's quite interesting because going back in history with all the men that were mayors, they were always known as Mr. Mayor. So when you become, if you're a lady and you become Mayor of Bath, you're asked, do you want to be addressed as Mr. Mayor or Madam Mayor? Okay. And so I chose Madam Mayor, so that went on all the various documents and things. I couldn't see myself as a Mr., but once a year there's a lovely reception where former mayors all come together, and a lot of the former older mayors would still call me Mr. Mayor because they believed in that. And I thought, well, fair enough, if that's their belief, I'm not offended by it. I love tradition. Yes, so then I was Madam Mayor after that.
As you say, for 700 years,
yes,
they were all Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
It wasn't until 1950 when you had the first female.
Yes.
So therefore, it's still relatively new in regards to the actual process of being a mayor.
And Dina Romero, who is our mayor at the present time, she is only the 18th. So in 21 years, there have only been 4 lady mayors since me. And another thing is that if you choose something new that came in, obviously, was a lady mayor. Do you have a mayoress, which is a female, or do you have a consort? So John was my consort. Okay. So that was a new tradition they brought in because, again, all the men had their wives as mayoresses. Yeah. Yeah, so things have changed slightly over the years.
I think it's needed to be changed, shall we say. So you mentioned about 702 different events that you went to. Did you have a favourite one, and why?
Oh, my gosh. So many. You choose the theme for your year. Okay. And I chose supporting communities and churches of all denominations. So I was invited to many different services, which was wonderful to do. And as mayor, you're the first citizen of the city. Right. And I thought it was really important to support everybody. that was very special for me to be able to do that. So I went to the mosque. I was invited there. To many, but there was one particular church that I went to. I'd never been to their services before, and they sit in silence for 45 minutes, and then just occasionally somebody would stand up and say, I'd like us to pray for my neighbour who's unwell at the moment. And my clerk could not believe it afterwards when he came to pick me up that I'd been silent for 45 minutes.
I have to say, having known you for a few months now, I'm struggling to believe that one as well.
So bless him. But you were talking about my title as the Right Worshipful the Mayor of Bath. My chauffeur was unwell, so my clerk was driving me to an event. The Lord Lieutenant of Somerset, we're going to her garden party, and he was driving and I'm in the back, and he said, "Now, Madam Mayor, I know you're very friendly with everybody," he said, "but you are the Right Worshipful the Mayor of Bath," he said, "and people do like to address you as Madam Mayor." He said, "but I know often you're very familiar with everybody." So it was a little lecture in the car. When we got to Lady Gass's house for the garden party, I walk in with Edward, my clerk, and her sister and brother-in-law greeting people, and they said, "Oh, hello, and who are you?" And I said, "Hello, I'm Loraine," and shook hands with them. And then Edward, I looked at him and he just raised his eyebrows.
It's really difficult, isn't it? It's, it's a bit like when I have, in a very strange sort of way. So I'm a dance teacher and I'm also run the business as well. And what I've now got is I've got a lot of teachers that now work for me. So where I was teaching those classes before, everybody knew who I was because I was up on stage.
Yes.
I now have the scenario that I'm not on stage most of the time, actually. And therefore, people that come in that are new have absolutely no idea who I am.
Yes.
And I start dancing with them and they say, "Oh, how long have you been dancing for then?" And I go, "Just a little bit." And you don't want to say, "Do you know who I am?"
Yes, exactly.
And it must have been kind of some of those scenarios for yourself.
Well, and there were lots of the chain gang, that's what we used to call ourselves, all the mayors and chairmen of the councils. When we got together, we were the chain gang. And of course, because it was the Lord Lieutenant of Somerset's garden party, there were a lot of chains there that day.
Okay.
So of course, they wouldn't have known, her sister and brother-in-law wouldn't know what my chain represented. And that's why they said, and who are you?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was. And another thing that I found very difficult was sitting in the car when we pulled up, waiting for the chauffeur to open the car door.
Yeah.
Because I would just open the door and step out. And Peter, who was our lovely chauffeur, said to me once, "Now, Madam Mayor, if you keep opening the door, I'm going to have to put the child locks on." Because you've got to arrive in style.
You've got to allow me to open that door for you.
Yes, I know. But when you're not used to that, it is
unusual.
It's quite hard.
It is unusual. Now we're going to talk very quickly. I mentioned we're not going to talk politics, but we are going to talk very quickly about your journey to try and be a politician. So, so you did attempt to become an MP. How did that go?
Well, the reason was I was going independent anyway, and then I was approached by a group of business people and various other people who a few months before the 2015 general election, and they said they wanted a local person to stand, and so I thought about it. And I actually was quite touched that these people came to me and asked would I stand because I was local. I've lived in Bath all my life, and I've been a councillor for 20 years, involved for 38 years, so I had a lot of knowledge, and so I did stand, but I didn't announce till January, and the elections were in May, so there wasn't an awful lot of time really. I needed an 18-month, but I gave it a go because I'm very principled, and I love Bath with a passion, and so I gave it a go. And whilst I didn't have the team, I didn't have the leafleters, even though we produced some wonderful leaflets. I just didn't have the team to go door knocking and do all of that. So, but it was a wonderful experience to be part of it. Kerry Ann, a friend of mine, gave up 5 months of her life to be my agent, bless her, and I'll always be thankful to her because there's no pay, and to have friends going out delivering leaflets for me was wonderful. But I didn't have the big team behind me.
The juggernaut of team that's going to drive you forward.
Absolutely. They would have 15, 20, 30 people out on the streets. I didn't have that. But I'm glad that I gave it a go. I'm glad that I put Bath first. That was my message. I was out leafleting one day, and somebody drove by in a van and was beeping and saying, "Good luck, Loraine." And I thought that was really lovely. And even months afterwards, I remember being in a restaurant and someone came up to me and said, "We were so proud that you stood. Thank you for standing."
Yeah.
So it did mean a lot to people. It's just that I just didn't have the team to help me. And 4 months run up to an general election is not long enough.
No, it's not long enough. Well, on a personal level, I'm quite pleased you didn't make it, because I'm guessing that, the sliding doors moment of Radio Bath existing even might not have happened with different things and the team that have created Radio Bath, which we're going to talk about fairly shortly. But I suppose that the next question in my head is, if you had the chance, would you try and do it again?
I think if I was younger,
right,
definitely 100%, because independent councillors and MPs are coming to the fore now. People don't realise that when a political party might need, at the time in 2015, the Conservatives did need 6 more people in Parliament. So independents could have had a really good bargaining tool there to say, I would have said, let me look at your social services plans, and probably have a really good say in how that went forward. So I think if people can be brave, sometimes, read up on the people. I think people throw the leaflets in a bin and don't read up. But I think read up on people's experience, because those people can still make a difference for you. Even if they're in the minority, they can.
It sounds like from your counselling time, your small time as an MP, or trying to be an MP, and also being a mayor, is that the key thing for you is that you kept Bath at the heart.
Yes.
And actually local people can make a local difference.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got to know your city, and like I said, I'm not hugely political, but I would say one thing that I don't like is when people are passported into a city to stand and they say, we know what your problems are, and they actually don't. They're just ambitious. So the city was at my heart. I was actually asked if I would stand in Devon because I was on a list. There's a list out there, and I was on this list, but I didn't. I could have gone down and gone on to stand, but I felt, no, that's not right. I'm not going to go to Devon and say, I know what your problems are. Yeah, Bath absolutely. Was in my heart.
Well, talking about Bath, we're going to talk about Radio Bath when we come back right after this. And now we've got the longest instrumental in the world. There's Higher Love and Stevie Winwood. Radio Bath, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. Okay, so we're back with Loraine. So we're going to talk. We are now on Radio Bath, and we're going to talk about Radio Bath, which is quite nice. It always helps if I turn your fader up.
Oh, well, there we are then. Yes.
I can hear you talking, but nobody else could. But so, in 2020, you started Radio Bath along with Stephen Simon.
Yeah.
Tell us how that happened, how all the kind of relationships and all that got going.
Well, originally, we go back 21 years, back to when I was Mayor of Bath, and I was invited over to Bristol to go on GWR Radio, which is now Heart, onto Steve's show. So Steve Fountain had his breakfast show, so I was invited over and had a fabulous couple of hours on his show, answering questions, talking about so much. And from that, Steve and I became friends and got to know each other, and his lovely wife, Tina. And then about 10, 12 years ago, we were talking because there was our local radio station in Bath had gone. And he was saying, Bath does deserve its own radio station. So we kept talking about this for maybe 10 years. And then towards the end of 2019, Steve phoned me up and said, I think now's the time. And introduced me to Simon McNeill-Ritchie, a friend of his from Bradford-on-Avon as well. And we started to put plans in place, and I made a list of people that I felt we needed to talk to, business people, to find out what they would like to see from a radio station, what the charities would like to see. So I had the role of community engagement, really, which I suppose is very suitable to me, events and community engagement. And then we went to see a local businessman who runs a very large company, friend of mine, to have a chat. And he said, what do you need? And Steve said, well, we need a building. And he said, I've got an empty building on the Lower Bristol Road. Would you like to go and have a look at it? And so the three of us came down. It's fabulous where we are here. So we said, yes, please. We'd love to use your building. And that was February 2020. And what happened in March 2020? COVID hit.
Nothing important.
COVID hit. So we couldn't come into the building and start any renovation until about July the 5th, when the first lockdown ended. And between the three of us, we decided we would build the studio, because it's hard to go out to the business community saying, can you support a radio station, just when it's on paper? So we decided, let's build the studios. We've got 2 studios, as you know, and this is our base. And then we can go out to the business community and see if we can get business support, which we've been so fortunate. Businesses out there have really supported us as patrons, partners, sponsors, enabling us to get the funds in. Last year, in 2022, there were 1,000 interviews on Radio Bath. So with all of you guys, all volunteers, you do a wonderful job for us. There's about 40 of you, now. And all those interviews mean so much to those charities, organisations and businesses out there. And we're truly a local radio station. We're not coming out of London or Manchester or Birmingham. We are truly here in Bath. And we cover Wiltshire as well, up to Royal Wootton Bassett, across Wiltshire across Somerset to Frome, parts of Gloucestershire, as well as the city of Bath. So we're very proud. We cover a wide area and we truly are local.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place to be, if I'm honest with you. The first time I came in here, I actually came in for an interview myself and sat in that very seat and talking about my business, Ciroc.
Yeah.
And Ian, who also is a DJ for me now as well, he interviewed me. I was like, I really want to be here.
Oh, bless you.
And that was the beginning of this year. And, I'm very fortunate, and you guys have invited me along, and I have this show every week. And I absolutely love being part of this community of this radio station. So how was it? You came to an empty building then, and then you thought, right, who designed it? Who thought, right, this has to be here? And who did the work?
Well, Steve's been in the radio industry for 40 years, so has huge experience and has worked in many radio stations. So obviously the vision of the studios would have come from Steve, really. We're very fortunate that other radio stations were very supportive. We've got some fantastic kit here, and it's just been an amazing journey. But as programme content director, Steve not only pulled together the idea of how the studios would be, but the equipment and everything, which is amazing. And then, Simon and I have had other jobs to do within the radio station. But in the beginning, I've got photographs where Simon is painting the building and that sort of thing. So, but it's been an amazing journey, and we hit the ground running because, as I said, we started to build the studios from the 5th of July 2020, and then we went live on the 5th of November, exactly 4 months later. Steve at 7 a.m. in the morning launched the breakfast show. I was crying. I'm an emotional person, and everyone knows that I cry. Even when we won our Creative Bath Award last week, Radio Bath, I was crying.
That's good. My children always joke about the fact that I cry at Frozen too. And the thing is, I also cried at Frozen itself as well. So I'm an emotional person as well.
Yeah, so am I. So it's been an incredible journey. We've had so much support from businesses, and we're so grateful to all those businesses that have come forward since 2020 to support us. They're all there on our website. So a big shout out to all of them. And we wouldn't exist without them, and we wouldn't exist without you, our wonderful presenters as well.
Very kind. Now, how have you seen the place change over the last few years then?
Well, I think a very important part was to Radio Bath is getting out into the community now. Now there's no lockdowns anymore, and that was in our vision, that we wanted to go back to the old days of radio, where radio was at community events and people knew who their radio presenters were. We have an outside broadcasting unit which we take and use at big events, but also with modern technology we can go live from events from a tabletop with the equipment that Steve has bought. So we're Yeah, that's a big part of what we're doing now. And we're doing a lot of live events in businesses. We're doing features on local areas. We were on Argyle Street a couple of weeks ago, based in Rengen House. And then I went to all the various businesses asking would they like to come on live on air. And I was giving them times to come in. And we've done a feature on Walcott Street, Lark Hall. We're going soon this month to Kingsmead Square. Our patrons, Avonvale Carpets, we're working with them, and we're going to feature all the businesses in the area. So that's been a massive thing for us to be able to do, is to get out into the community, whether it's business, charity or community events.
And is it just Bath you're looking to do that for? I'm just thinking, if somebody's listening right now and they're thinking, I've got an event that actually we'd love to have Radio Bath at, is it just Bath, or would it be Trowbridge or Salisbury or wherever?
We've already done an outside broadcast from the Civic in Trowbridge, so we're looking at Bradford and Avon. Across the area that we cover, we're really happy to do that, across Somerset, even down into Frome. We'd really like to do that. One of our other patrons, Simple Recruitment Limited, based in Midsummer Norton, that's their head office. Steve, this year, has been going out and doing live broadcasting from their offices on their open days. So, yeah, we've got the technology. We can be there.
Oh, amazing. Now, it's quite widely reported that the BBC is making local radio less local, so a number of the local stations are amalgamating together. So there seems to be kind of a gap in the market, to say, for the local radio. But I suppose the challenge is going to be keeping it local whilst growing it. They kind of go against each other to some degree. So kind of what's the vision for the station over the next few years? Well,
we've always said we're Bath and beyond, but we literally, the areas that we cover at the moment are absolutely perfect. We are on DAB, which I haven't mentioned that we applied to Ofcom and they gave us a license. So we're on DAB. So we are actually in people's cars and on their radios at home, as well as worldwide. We've got expats from New Zealand, Australia, Canada who listen in because of the internet, and also across the country on Alexa. So one important part to us was not just to be an internet radio station, that we wanted to be on DAB. Bath and Beyond at the moment is still our vision. We've got so much more we can do with Wiltshire and across Somerset. So that's important to us at the moment, that those three areas, Bath, Wiltshire, Somerset. If we do start to grow and go further afield, we would always have that local presenter presence. That's really important. We would want to be local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not shipping in presenters from London then to take over the 10 till 12 slot on a Thursday? Just checking that out now.
No. Make sure you're very safe, I promise.
So if people do want to get involved with Radio Bath, how can they get involved? Are there lots of different ways? Obviously, I do the presenting part, but are there other things people can do as well?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of my main roles now, again, since lockdown has eased, is events. I've put on 6 events in the last 3 weeks. We've put on 6 events, or been involved with 6 events. So that takes up a lot of my time. So any help with events would be wonderful. I could do with that. Actually, the pre-planning, some of the admin work, or even actually coming along and helping at events, we'd be really grateful. That's great for great fun. We're a great team. I think everyone who volunteers at Radio Bath really enjoy being part of. We're a family. We are a family here. But so there's so many jobs behind the scenes. If someone doesn't want to be a presenter, there are lots of lovely jobs that can be done. And I'm always making sure we've got supplies of biscuits and tea, coffee, and I like to look after everybody.
I have to say, in the WhatsApp group the inevitable WhatsApp group that we have for the station, is one of the main topics is there milk in the fridge?
Yes. So it shows that everyone enjoys their coffees and their teas. So luckily, I live quite local, and presenters are amazing, saying, well, I'm coming in this morning, I'll bring some. So we normally get around. We normally get around that. You
do indeed. Now, we're going to have another little break to talk about our sponsors. About our sponsors earlier on. So we're going to have a little listen from them very shortly. When we come back, we're going to talk about your charity work and the fact that you have 3 letters after your name as well. So we'll be back right after this.
From
There's Rita Ora and your song. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. So on A Story to Tell today, we've got Loraine, and we're going to talk now about your charity work. I'm doing my Smash Your Nicey impression there. I had to do it at some point. And about the fact that you have the letters M, B and E after your name. So in 2010, you became an MBE for your support to Bath and charity work that you do. So how does it feel to be recognised in this way?
Well, going back to what we discussed just now, I cried. The letter arrived a month before. It was the Queen's birthday honours, and so I got the letter a month before, and you have to fill in a form to say whether you will accept it or not. So I burst out crying. My son was in the lounge with me, and he came over and said, "Mum, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And he was hugging me, and I went, "No, I'm happy."
Happy tears.
And then obviously said what it was, and you're not allowed to tell anybody for a month.
That's one of the questions I've got.
Yeah, you've got to keep it a secret. But if I will be honest now, because I don't think they can take it back. It's in the studio here. I've brought it to show you.
Oh yeah, let's have a look. Let's have a look.
There we are.
Great radio.
So it's I know. We have to sort of make it quite visual.
So I'm going to try and describe it. So I nearly dropped it then. So it's pink with a cross on it. And it says God and the Empire. For God and the Empire. Wow. And
you can see the ribbon. The ribbon gets a bit untidy, so I have to keep ironing it.
It's a bit frayed.
I know. And my mum used to trim it with a pair of scissors.
Okay. So I'll put a post on Facebook afterwards, and I'll put a little picture of the medal for everybody to have a look as well.
Yeah. But I did actually, even though it was meant to be secret, I did ring my parents because my father had terminal lung cancer, and I just thought, this will be a boost for him.
Yeah.
Because when I was chairman of the Bath North East Somerset Council in 2006-07, which is another civic role, my father was my official consort, and came to hundreds of events for me. I did 528 events in that year, and my father did quite a few. And so I did tell them, but I swore them to secrecy. And then it comes out in the London Gazette on the actual Queen's birthday honours day.
Okay.
And just 1 minute past midnight, I couldn't wait just from Friday night into Saturday, and I went to the computer and I looked at the London Gazette, and I looked under Brinkhurst, and I wasn't there, and I thought, perhaps they didn't get my form back, and I had a little panic, thinking, oh no, and then I thought, oh, wonder if they've done the Morgan-Brinkhurst. So then I went to the M's, and there I was. So they got my form.
A bit of a relief for you. So how does it come about? So let's just say I want to have an MBE myself. Mm-hmm. Ta-da! But I'm not just going to get an MBE.
You're not meant to be involved with that. It's all meant to be done in secret. So I didn't know it was happening. And a former secretary of mine and my father had been planning this and going out, and because my father had been a consort with me only a few years before, he'd got to know quite a lot of people out in the community that I supported, charities and organisations, so he knew them to go to them, and apparently they were getting the letters, and then they submitted the forms, and hence I got the letter. Afterwards, after the award was announced, someone said to me that he's in business, charity, and he said he'd been approached by my father, and apparently when he was at events, I didn't know he was at events with me and my father. He used to secretly speak to my dad saying, have you heard anything, so all these things were happening, and all these little corner discussions I knew nothing about.
Because how long is the process? I think it doesn't just happen overnight, does it?
Well, I have been asked to do letters of support for other people over the years, and when you submit that, they do say that you should hear within 18 months. If you don't, sometimes that person might not be considered, or they would like some additional information about what that person has done. So I don't really know when my dad started it and how long it took, but anyway. It
must be that quite awkward scenario that somebody says, oh, can you do this letter for somebody, and you go, nah. No, I didn't like them very much. But obviously that didn't happen with yourself, because you've got those letters after your name.
Well, yes, I suppose maybe that does happen out there. I hope it didn't happen on mine anyway.
And we'll never know.
We will never know. No.
So where did you go and get your medal then?
Yeah, so it happens a few months later, and I had a letter and then a phone call and an email from the investiture office saying that it would be at Windsor Castle. Apparently, quite a lot of Southwest people do go to Windsor rather than Buckingham Palace, but that was great because I hadn't been to Windsor Castle before, and they gave me the date of the 5th of October, so it was obviously the same year, 2010. You're allowed to take 3 guests, so really my idea would have been to take John. You know, we were still on that long engagement, and my mum and my dad, but my father was then in Dorothy House, and we realised he wouldn't be well enough to travel to Windsor. So it was quite sad, really. And so the investiture office did know that he'd been unwell and had set up for him to have a wheelchair and everything, and someone to push him. They were so helpful. If you think they're doing hundreds of people like that, but they were really, really helpful. And I rang them the day before and I said, my father won't be able to make it, and they said, oh, you can postpone if you want. And I said, no, the carers have said, and my father want me to go ahead. So you don't normally transfer that ticket, but they said, one of my sisters came because we went up the night before and she looked after my mum in a hotel room, and then John and I were there.
I was just thinking about the scenario that you have 6 children and which one of those you're going to choose to bring along with you. But you didn't have that.
No, but also, I did still leave 3 sisters out, but they understood because my sister was coming up the night before to look after mum, and so that was fine. But my children and my sisters and my friends were saying, but we want to be there, there. And I said, well, I can't get the ticket. So they said, but can we come up to Windsor? So I contacted a friend who's got bugler coaches, and we booked a bugler coach, and my sisters and my children and friends came up on a coach. And when I came out of Windsor Castle, they were all there cheering, and it was just really lovely. And I'd booked a local restaurant for a meal, and we had this beautiful meal in a conservatory to celebrate. But going back to the investiture office, they were wonderful because I said to them, but my father's in Dorothy House Hospice, and one of my sons is going to take a photo, going to email it to them. And they said, ring our official photography company, they'll do it for you. And they were more than happy to help. So Princess Anne presented me with my award at 12 noon. By 1 o'clock, the photo had been emailed to Dorothy House. They printed it, laminated, and took it to my dad's bedside.
That's amazing. And
then in the evening, myself and my mother, all dressed up, went to Dorothy House with a bottle of champagne.
That sounds like an amazing story. So
sorry, I'm getting a bit
that's okay. No, it's absolutely lovely. Yeah. It's your father, no doubt, would have appreciated it massively as well.
And he did. And we've got some wonderful photos of me showing him the medal and things. And during the next month, he saw the official video. He saw the official photos. The letter from Princess Anne. Her office were very on the ball because there was a paragraph saying, as well as congratulations, I understand your father's unwell and please send him my best wishes. And her team had even put that into a letter, and my father saw it all, and he passed away on the 5th of November, a month later.
That is amazing attention to detail, isn't it? So you got the MBE then for doing your works for charities in the main,
and services to Bath and North East Somerset. Okay,
so we're going to talk about some of your charity work. I can't stop doing the Smashy and Nicey impression. I'm sorry about that. But tell us about some of the charities you supported.
Oh gosh, there's so many local charities that I've supported over the years. I mentioned earlier Send a Cow and Quartet Community Foundation, and I was vice president for what was the Forever Friends Appeal, which is now RUHX, an ambassador for many other charities. But there's one charity that it's a national charity that I'm a patron for, with Heather Mills. And when they asked me to be would I be a patron for them? I said, but everybody knows Heather Mills, but they don't know Loraine from Bath. And it's the Donor Family Network.
Okay.
And I met them when they came to Bath for the British Transplant Games. And as always, I went along officially to present medals as chairman of the council, but then I started to get involved and want to help. And I don't take things on in name only. I'll always be there to support in any way I can, raise funds. And it's an incredible charity, but they all are. I mean, in Bath, North East Somerset, there are about 150 charities. So it's, there are a lot of charities out there that provide great services. I'm a trustee for the Somerset Army Cadet Force. So what I decided to do, a former mayor said to me, when you finish as mayor, you will be asked to do a lot of things and support a lot of charities. So I thought to myself, right, I'll support a teenage charity, a health charity, and I had this idea in my head.
Yeah.
And people did come forward to ask me if I would support them, but actually I had about six different services in my head, but obviously it went well over the six. And many of them I'm still supporting to this day.
That's amazing. Now, I'm going to ask you quickly, because you are an events organiser. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience in a lot of different ways. And a lot of people try and raise money for charities, schools, companies. They try and raise some money, but they don't always do it in the best way. And they put a lot of effort in and don't get a lot out. So have you got any tips for companies and schools to start with on how to raise money for charity?
Well, I think what's really important is if you're going out to the business community to look for sponsorship. I write sponsorship packages, and what you need to do is to work out what benefits you can give back to those businesses. Some will give because they want to give and they're happy to support, and it's part of what they want to do every year. But some of those businesses might need some additional support. So look at what benefits you can give to them. Can you put quite a lot of photos and information on social media to support them? Can you get, write press releases to get out there to show your thanks to those organisations? So I think you need to work in partnership with them, rather than just take the money and run. You need to support them.
Give me money. That's what you want to do. Now, next year, as I announced a few weeks ago, I'm doing a charity skydive for the Children's Hospice, and we were speaking about this earlier on. So for me, on a personal level then, what tips have you got for me for raising money for the charity?
Well, I think I better about write you some sponsorship packages.
That'll be good.
I mean, definitely, obviously, you get your Just Giving site up.
Right.
And with modern technology, the fantastic thing is that, you can put that out onto Facebook and people can share. That's one that is fantastic nowadays, which years ago when I was fundraising, we never had any of those resources. So definitely, once you get your Just Giving up, get photos and get it out there, and we'll all share and we'll all click on that button and donate.
That would be great. It's going to petrify me doing a skydive, if I'm honest with you, because I'm not great with heights, and I'm ex-RAF, but still the prospect of jumping out of a plane at 10,000 feet is slightly hair-raising, to say the least.
Well, I think we'll all come along. Perhaps I'll hire a coach from Bugler Coaches, and we'll come along, we'll all support you and we'll cheer for you, and I'll have that gin and tonic ready for you for when you land. That
sounds amazing. Well, we're going to have a little break for music. When we come back, it's the all-important quick fire round that everybody has to do.
Oh, no.
I know. And Loraine doesn't get access to these questions, except for the first one, which is, what is her favourite ice cream? So we'll find out right after this.
I miss knowing what you're thinking and hearing how your day has been.
So we're on our quick fire round, back with Loraine. Okay, so you don't get access to these questions except for the first one, which is, what is your favourite ice cream?
Toffee.
Toffee? I haven't had toffee before.
Toffee. Oh, I love toffee.
Any particular make?
No, not really. I mean, Marshfield ice cream. You can't beat Marshfield ice cream, I think. And if you go down into Cornwall, the Kelly's ice cream is delicious as well.
It is indeed. Right.
Yes.
Are you tidy or messy?
Oh, gosh, I'm a hoarder.
Okay.
I'm a hoarder, so I'm probably messy.
You're probably messy. If you walked into... I'm thinking of your office desk in the far corner. Is it tidy or messy?
No, if you look underneath the desk, there's
really?
loads of stuff, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Love or hate roller coasters?
Oh, when I was younger, I loved the fair and roller coasters. But I think as I've got older, I've got a bit more fearful.
Do you know what? I've said this a few times. It's actually to do with our the fluid in our ear canals. As we mature in years, past the age of 20, it starts to stiffen up. And therefore, roller coasters affect us more.
20 was a long time ago in my lifetime.
For all of us, I think. Here we go. Really important questions now. It's very highbrow, okay? Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back?
Over the top.
Why?
I don't know. Because if my grandson or John have moved it, I turn it the other way.
And then the follow-up question is, if you go to somebody else's house and theirs is round the back, do you change it?
Yeah, I would.
I do the same.
We can't do that here because we've got one of those silver sort of pole ones, haven't we, here at Radio Bath?
Yeah, so it's just either way, isn't it? At that point?
They just they just sit on top of each other.
Absolutely. Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
We keep all the chocolate in the fridge.
In the fridge. Why in the fridge then?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't know, really. We just do. Archie, my grandson, who lives with us in the week, he's got his own little box with his in. John's got one with his in.
Amazing. So you've all got your own individual fridge chocolate boxes.
Yeah.
I've not had that before.
Yeah, so. I'm a person that puts everything into boxes. Again, if you look in the office, there's boxes everywhere.
There are boxes. They're organised boxes. So.
They are organised boxes, yeah.
A lot of tidy people think the messy people don't know where anything is. But even though it's a mess, I know where everything is still.
Yeah. It's just which box it's in.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
We are then.
Do you make your bed in the morning?
Oh, yes.
And again, why?
Yeah, I just do. I don't like it untidy.
Yeah,
I pull it over and then I go in my grandson's room and I make sure that's all done.
Oh, and you make your grandsons as well.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Well, he's only 9, so
I think he should be making his own bed at that point.
It's only a quilt. You've only got to fluff it.
Exactly. Just chuck it over. It's a good thing to do. And the next question always on this is: do you have any cushions on your bed?
Oh, John. Well, I did.
For the benefit of the tape, Lorraine's just gone, oh no, we're going down this line, aren't we?
Well, yeah, John's listening. When we decorated our bedroom and I bought nice burgundy cushions, put them at the bottom, and John wasn't impressed.
Was he not?
So they don't sit on the bed.
Right.
No, they just sit in the corner of the bedroom.
So we now have cushions that don't even get on the bed. They still just sit in the bedroom, just in the corner.
But if someone was coming to the house and they were going to have a look around, I'd put them on the bed.
Of course, I understand that entirely. It's that moment of, I must have cushions on a bed. It makes it presentable. It really does. What is your favourite breakfast?
Oh, if I have time. This morning I didn't have time for
no breakfast today?
No.
If you did?
If we were away on holiday in the UK, we always have a cooked breakfast, which I love, absolutely love a cooked breakfast. But I don't have a lot of time now, so I grab a piece of toast or some cereal. So I'm really not very good when they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I'm not very good with that.
I always look at it from a car perspective. I think you wouldn't drive your car without any fuel in it.
No, it's true.
So therefore, why would we drive our bodies without any fuel in it?
And actually, that adds to me being a picky person. I'm picking food all day.
Yeah. Hence
that I'm still not that 8 stone that I mentioned earlier.
Who is these days? What is your go-to karaoke song if you had to do it?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I suppose if you think of the earlier part of my life, when you think about I'll Survive, I think there are quite a few of us out there that I Will Survive is quite an important one.
Bit of Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah, I think so. But obviously, We Are Family, as you know, is my ringtone. It was
which we heard earlier.
My father's favourite song because he had 5 daughters. I've got all my sisters with me, so that's very special as well.
Absolutely amazing. Favourite TV programme or film?
Oh gosh, I am a soap person actually. Even if I can't watch it every night, I watch it on catch up, and actually little little thing that I can mention about our fundraising gala dinner tomorrow night.
Go on then, Loraine.
And I'm an Emmerdale fan, and Chris Chittle, who plays Eric Pollard, great friend of Steve's, is coming to our gala dinner tomorrow night.
Amazing.
But I am a real soap fan.
So are you going to be starstruck when you see him then?
Oh, yes, yeah. I'm going to have the photographer at my side ready.
Right.
Yeah, Roy Newport's coming to do our photos. And, yeah, I've already asked Steve, is Chris up for photos? And he said yes. So.
Oh, amazing. So myself and my wife, we get photographed a lot because we're dance teachers.
Yeah.
And we scaringly know which side we should be when we stand next to each other. So I don't know if you think about Ant and Dec, they always stay the same side.
Yes.
So Dec, as you look at the TV, is always on the right,
Yeah.
Ant's always on the left. And I always have in my head when we're ever doing any photos, left is right. So I always know that I have to be on my wife Zoe's left-hand side because my nose is slightly angled, you see. Right. So therefore, and the photography, if it looks one way, it looks all right. The other way, not quite so all right. So,
well, I'll tell you something, that I was having a photo with Jenny Bond that was when I was Mayor of Bath, and it was at the Assembly Rooms, and we were having a photo together, and Sam Farr, who's the photographer for the Chronicle at the time, I said, "Oh, Sam, stand on a chair." I said, because I said, "You won't get my double chin if you take the photo from up high." And she nudged me and went, "Oh, you're learning fast."
Very, very good. Right, 2 questions to go.
Right.
Okay, if you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why? Told you I was highbrow.
I think a cat, because
the good old cats.
I think a cat, because they have quite a nice life, don't
do.
they?
It's
Snuggling
the favourite
up
answer.
On the is it really?
Yeah, definitely the favourite answer.
Oh, okay.
It's a cat. Fabulous. And this is your last question, Loraine. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
And I love this question, okay? Mm-hmm. So where is your happy place?
My happy place with my family, John and my family.
Ah, and what a lovely way to finish.
Yeah, that's really important. And we've got a motorhome and we go on holiday, and that's, my happy place.
Loraine, thank you so much for coming on today. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I loved it, and you've got me away from my desk.
I have. We've got you sitting down doing nothing for the first time in months.
I know.
Which is absolutely amazing.
I feel very spoilt. Thank you, Richard.
No, it's been really entertaining. I've loved having you on, and I will try and drag you back onto the microphone at some point in the future as well. Loraine, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.